And that's why I would feel like I've experienced this thing before. So it's not my actual physical body, but it's the spirit. Yeah?
Yes, it's a spirit that is experiencing the same memory, bang, of what has happened. But the body cannot comprehend it. So the body will create a aspect of it. That is why our psychic powers, we cannot comprehend it. We can create aspect of it and say it's clairvoyance, because I could access someone's internal being and live within them.
Why is hair, especially black people's hair, so important? What is the power in the hair?
There's all hairs are important, by the way, because they channel and they connect.
Sicela ukubonga Ramasedi. uNkulunkulu wethu esimthandayo. Siyabonga, asibonge, bathi danko. Another one where we are gaining knowledge. He's back. You love him. You've requested him to come back as often as possible. You've been mad at me that he hasn't been coming since last year, but more knowledge will be dropped today. World, welcome Zamalek Giza. Thokoza mkhulu.
Ndosheni brothers. Ndosheni.
Ngicela uqala lapho ndosheni kusho ukuthini? What does that mean?
Oh, ndosheni means salutation. In royal house, since there was a coronation, they will hail a king. When they crown a king with his crown, they say, God save the king. And then that God save the king, it goes with a hail for everybody who have taken their crown off.
Asibong.
The lords there, the councillors there who have taken their crown off. And then they hail to the king unto the 1,000 years. So hail means salutation. So in our language is ndosheni. And then when they say ndosheni, it means salutation. When they say ndoshe, it means salute.
I'm going to be consuming some caffeine from a young man. I used to sell more fire with him in the streets. Over the past couple of years, he's went on to start his own coffee brand in Johannesburg. He's doing really well. Congratulations to Lebogang Yandeni. I've just ordered a nice chai latte here, and I'll be watering it down ngamanzi. Umkhulu yena umuntu wamanzi usifunela amanzi. Can you please give him some more water? Right ngamanzi mkhulu.
Yeah, that's the only thing I will consume because, you know, when we talk about water, since we have a curiosity about water everywhere, they will say they have a spirit of water. Everybody, they will say they are initiated under the water or sort of a thing like that. We'll go to the strength why we are all obsessed about the water. Not only because men originated from the water. It's because we are in the age where the sun, when it rises, the constellation that will always appear leading with the sun, it will be the Aquarian. And the Aquarian, it has much the basis to deal with the water. Somewhere it will be called, in the Vedic record, it's called the Kali Yuga. And the Kali Yuga lasts for a long period than the European continent. Yet they mean the same thing. In the Kali Yuga, it means the age of ignorance. In the Aquarian concept, it means the age of knowledge or information, accessibility of information. Through the accessibility of information, people are more ignorant than ever because they are lazy nor passive to read or investigate or research. And again, when we say it's an Aquarian, it has much to deal with water. Then we need to know that in the medieval of water system, and the water system produced to us what we call the normal or the great ones of the sea in this age since we are here. The great one of the sea, everybody did go to them to go and learn mysteries. Like Ngungi, the great god, Omagudenga, you get in Botswana, in his reed, in Ogawane Reeds and River. That's where Ngungi was born, and that is where his dominion, in the river, and he get his mysteries from the river. The same god Ngungi, he is known in Celtic, in Europe, as Odin, the one-eye god. Even us, we know him as a one-eye god. That is why a smith or a craftsman had to carry a one-eye symbol. Some people will say the all-seeing eye. That is Ngungi's eye, by the way, apparently according to our legendary stories in Africa. So it has much to deal with the water system, because Ngungi was raised by hippopotamus, something that lives in the water. And he had a war and a sage like Gyokis, since we had talked about Gyokis in our last episode. He had a war with a great enemy called the crocodile. Hence why in Egypt they had Achiopis. After when you have passed Anubis, Anubis has taken you to Ma'at, Teweret the crocodile, Teweret the hippopotamus was the one who will carry you with her boat that is called the boat of the dead, where we pay our ransom, all of us. And then when she takes you there, she will take you to the great scale. And that scale is a scale of Ma'at. And then in the scale of Ma'at, you'll be weighed. And when you are weighed, that your heart is not too much full of hatred and stuff that will overweigh the feather, then you will pass through. But if it overweigh the feather, you are swallowed by the crocodile. So these legends talk a lot of things that relate with the water, the crocodile, the Achiopis. The same legend you told about Ngungi in an African folklore. You can get this legend in Zulu Shaman, where Baba Credo Mutwa has written about it.
Still talking about water. Do watermeesters really exist? Konje, what is a watermeester in English?
The water maid, the siren.
Mermaid,
They
yes.
are known as water maid, the siren, or the mermaid, as you have said. The siren do exist. You get them in Sicilia. There's legends about the Sicilian siren when we go to European legends about just the mermaid. And then you get the same legends about the mermaid in the Greek legends. They pass them through Sicilia again. Ithaca see them in Sicilia. Odysseus saw them in Sicilia. And then when we get to the Suez Canal in Israel, Middle East, that is where now you get even still the same sirens. But you can even get them here in South Africa. These species are kept as a secret thing, but they still exist. They are everywhere. Some people use them for different forms of magical use, since they are different and they vibrate in a different form of vibration, and they are of water species. And there's different mermaids, since they are species. I've explained about this, that when Paku, one of the twins, Paku and Muau, they got married into the sea. When they get married into the sea, they got married with the whales. And they had to run the sea, meaning being rulers of the sea, under sea. And when they became these rulers under sea, they became the majesties. And these majesties had to pass through the knowledge, because it was the knowledge of the normal. So there's already people who are living there, a race, a whole entire race with its own different ethnicities. Ethnicity in identity and pentagenetically. So you can see different species in the sea who can talk. Another thing, when we talk about the river, in the sea, in Antarctica or any place, when you go to the deep end, there's a layer of water that separates the sea, and no one can penetrate that layer of water. Even science, using all kind of machines and rockets, we have tried. They've done it in 2022, when there was a fire in the sea. Everybody was amazed why there was fire in the mid of the sea. No one knows about that classified story. Yet when you look into these details I'm telling you, you'll understand that there's a civilized nation that is living in the sea. So mermaid will be part of those race.
Let's touch a bit on astrology. A lot of people believe in horoscopes. Horoscopes in an African context?
Horoscope in African context that are told in a way our concept will understand through traditional folklore. And traditional folklore explained through seasonal. But the stars were explained in different, like the most of the secret. Public knowledge is to know how to harvest, when to plant, when to reap, and when to sustain. These were told through the stars, through the movement of the stars. And that movement of the stars, that is where we get these different calendars. And then these calendars are a way to identify the movement of a particular planet that will be vibrating them. But zodiacs, according to European, it's a limited perspective. In Africa, they had about 88 constellations that are moving all around yearly, making a circulation. But in Europe, they've already identified the closest constellation, who are called the zodiac, meaning the circulated animals or the lower animals that are circulating. Hence why we get the Ndenduri or Zuluntongo or Zulutongo, the Ndendera records of Egypt, where they tell you about the stars, the constellation. They told you about the 10 decans. The 10 decans are the ones that a person in the southern hemisphere can view. And then when they are in the northern hemisphere, they can see the extra 2 decans. These extra 2 decans, they were seen as an invisible entities or invisible god in ancient Egypt. So that is why even in astrology today, they are using 10 as a calculation form or form of calculating astrological years. So it's called like decans. 1 decan will be 10 years and 2 decans will be 20 years. So they calculate astrological movement through that. Using our African database. So European has been pre-made. That is why I said in the old times, them Europeans, they viewed the constellation into 7 planets. They only knew 7 planets, and they include the sun as the planet. They included the moon as the planet. It shows how they were pre-made, how they were behind. We knew that the moon was rotating around only within our spheres or our axis, and there's other moons for other planets. We knew all those phenomena that they are starting to discover. So when we talk about astrology, you have to understand that we know that there's 88 constellation that we are viewing, while this European is telling you about 12. While in Arabia, they are the ones who talk about 11. While others in Aztec, they talk about the 24 constellation. We tell you about the 88 that is already discovered by satellites that we are using in this modern age.
Tell more.
Okay, my lord. Example. They told us about only life in the sun that we have. And then we ask people about the closest stars. And then their discovery was that the closest stars is Promix Centauri or an Alpha Centauri. These 2 stars are the closest star next to in our universe, just here close to us. And within that closest star, there's people who are living there. We knew about them. We call them Abangagufa, Abapila Uknaphakade. And apparently, when you found out the stories about those people who are living there, they imitate immortality. They have ways to imitate such immortality with their civilization that they've accumulated. And they do have what we call interaction with us in planet Earth, yet in a classified manner and secrecy. Because they are a constellation, a universe not far from us, within the Milky Way.
I hear I was watching The Forbidden Knowledge, which is another channel. Billy Carson shares a lot of beautiful knowledge there. Thank you, my brother. We appreciate the knowledge that you're sharing. Some of it can get confusing, but it's beautiful that you share it anyway. He says, we are in the fourth, or did he say fifth dimension? I stand to be corrected. He says, as for instance, I'm looking at this table and looking at these drinks like this. We've got there's other civilizations that are looking at us that way in other dimensions, like basibheke kanje. The way I think we've been taught in anaskula nasakhula, and the concept that is in our mind ukuthi ngathi uNkulunkulu usibhekile. Ukhuluma ngokuthi ama dimensions akuyo, he'll explain it. I could be wrong, guys. Just don't paraphrase me. Go find out a little bit more on how he actually explains it. But just the way I can try and simplify it is one dimension, a flat piece of paper, second dimension, third dimension, these beings that are not even aware that they are being watched by other human life form above them, and apparently there's actually even more dimensions. I could be wrong. Cela ungicacisele mkhulu.
Okay, these are people who are breaking down organism, the organ. And the organ can be found in forms of different forms, where it becomes even a virus in an invisible quantum leap. But now, when we're talking about dimensions, we are talking about forms of existence. Like we are a third dimensional human beings, and we are living in the third dimensional world because of length, height, and breadth. It's because we have the length, we have the height, we have the breadth that stretches towards our calculation as we have in the mathematical systems. And then in the second dimension, there will be the flat people, obviously. That's the truth. That's why things will be flat for them, or they will be in the flat world. But in the third dimension, it gives you a spiral existence. And then in this case, that is why in astrological calculation, they are using the string theology that was used by Johannes Kepler in an analysis of such dimensional world. The string theory explains now that with this dimension existing, we can be in the shift. There can be a way that our movement can shift into another dimension if it accelerates beyond 666 million, the Earth, the way it evolves around. If it accelerates beyond the 666, then it can evolve into the highest level of another state. But since we haven't adapted to the speed, then we cannot reach the other realm of things. That is where we get into the Africans who talk about their ancestors being around them, or their ancestors living with them. They are talking in basic of dimensions, that in your third dimensional world, you may see them not being around. But when you stretch beyond the third dimensional world, in the fourth dimension, you may able to identify them. And to go to the fourth dimension, according to the archive, also people will say the Akasha records that you get in this world, planet Earth, and in this galaxy or this universe, Milky Way, is that the third dimensional world, to pass it through, you need to pass the library. It's the same knowledge you will get out there, but in planet Earth, we haven't known even about the library, the Akasha record, where you can get all these records and the knowledge system about anything. The knowledge system about medicine, the knowledge system about stars, the knowledge system that their great Sanusis are carrying. So these knowledge systems are found in the library, and the library will be the pillar or the borders to the fourth dimension.
Can an ordinary human being get themselves into the fourth dimension?
You need to study, say, and be part of the library in the varsity. A library is not there because by default. It's a library because there's a varsity where you study movement processes. That is why people come when we get a revelation from the outer world, other dimension, we come with different knowledge, and people get amused by that different knowledge. And we can see it through an artist who's drawing. When they are drawing that art, they may not even picture what they are drawing, but at the end, they will say, this is something that came out of my inner being. I didn't even think about it, because that thing, it's a divine inspiration that is from the archive, the Akasha record. within you, you can access that. So that is why they say, man must know thyself. Then they go within to access such a library, which means any normal layman can access it, but they need to have a skill, not to be righteous, not to be good, not to be evil, but to have a skill and discipline.
What is the relationship between that and what they would call the third eye, the pineal gland?
It's the same thing as the third eye, what we have talked about. But now, in the third eye, people have understood it as some form of having a spiritual side of other realm. Those realms are dimensions. So when you have already opened your third eye, it means you are superior intelligent. The third eye, it talks about the intelligent part, the pineal gland. It talks about the process of your connective, how you can use it. And it can access other psychic forms of his utilization, like psychoautonomy, where it is called active intelligence in theological religion.
How do I access my pineal gland as a layman in the street?
These are taught in spiritual institutions like the Tibets and everybody. It's not a public knowledge because no one wants to have a lot of people who can think for themselves and influence things moving all around. So they want to control that.
But a lot of people do share that information on, and they say all sorts of different things, and one ends up not knowing what to believe. Like, how do I open my third eye?
When you share those things out in a public, you share the layman understanding that is not going to even open a third eye. It's just to trigger your mind or thought-provoking concepts. But there's a opening of the third eye. A person can trigger your mind by speaking about something you don't know. But a person can speak about something you don't know that can help you to scratch your intelligence, not trigger your mind. So opening your third eye is to stretch your intelligence, is to expand how you think. And then the expansion happened through secrecy. Like Asclepius, who saw the fall of the Egyptian Alexandrian library when it was destroyed by a Christian church.
And they stole the books, right?
Yeah, through the Coptic Church. That was the governor under the Mark Church in Egypt. It was 225 AD. Expetius had got the secret. She got the secret. She's called Utopias. She got the secret. She's a she. These are people who live with Agape, and the people who claim that the world was heliocentric rather than geocentric, getting it from the African masters. So when they learn these sciences, they learn the sciences of how to stimulate your third eye and how to stimulate your spirit from the African masters. And she was the genius. And it is passed through into secrecy by the order of the House of the Saint Clair. The order of the House of the Saint Clair, you get it under the Masonic system and the Knight Templars and all these secrecy that people don't know much about, but the clubs, if we will want to call them. So the clubs use the same techniques that Asclepius got from the Africans who told her how to stimulate your third eye. So such thing is scarce. What is in the public is just sophistry. When we say sophistry, it's just to delay you from the necessary thing that one can do.
I mean, I'm just a layman from Akasha. I'm not as woke or as intelligent as all these people on the internet. So when I ask some questions, please don't think I'm asking stupid questions, because I just want to know, what are chakras? What are chakras?
Oh, chakras are energy form point. We live through this energy form point, Example, people are too sexual. They are sensual. And in all our life, it is expressed in a sexual form. The phallic worship, the worship of the vagina, the worship of the penis, the worship of all these things that are happening. That is why there's erected obelisks, there's temples, you go in and you come out. It's like the womb. So these worship are everywhere, and we can still get them in these recent eras through the entertainment where people are just evolving in that world. So we use our sexual chakra to think, all of us. And then to manifest things in the world, we use our sexual chakras. To be great scientists who manifest these things, we use our sexual chakras. The first thing that we're shown about this great science is when a man and a woman have children. But now it advanced to other chakras, this energy form. We use our stomach when we run, we do a lot of activities that has to deal with energy. That a lot of activities that deals with your kinetics, energy, the movement around you. Not to manifest things, but the movement. You use your stomach. That's another chakra. You use your heart, where everything that has to contain with your emotions, how you feel, how you sense in your emotions. You use your heart. That's another sensor, the energy chakra. You use your ego. That is why you hit yourself in the chest too much when you tell yourself things that I am in charge, I am me. You hit your chest because it's another energy form where you identify who you are and try to say you are who you are. That is why they say chest out when they say you must know yourself. You use your throat chakra when you want to make sounds, noise, or someone to hear you, to listen to you. It's an energy form of communicating, linking, connecting with a lot of things. Its voice is sound, frequency. And you use your intelligence to break down things. The energy chakra, if it has reached here, it has already been able to break down and analyze information, things in the world, and access other realm of the world because you have opened your intelligent chakra or your third eye. It's one of the chakras. And your crown chakra to sense the astrological movement of the stars. That is why you can sense when there's a spirit around you with your dreadlocks, or you can sense when there's someone who has some entities that they are with your dreadlocks. No, you can sense normal, average people who are not even using magic with your dreadlocks.
Why do people bano communicate nabaphansi noma namadlozi through dreams?
It's because the dreams, that's where we had access and vulnerable towards the connective process of the pineal gland. So it can create lucid dreams, like lucid dreams, reality world, where you are living in that world of that lucid dream, or in an astral projected dream, where you are projected in some other place and you are living in that place. You can feel the same pain and you can sense the pain. Like some of the dreams that are astral projectional dreams or lucid dreams, you can come back and have pain or have a sky. I normally did have that, where I fought with someone in my dreams and I still have skies. And that person I fought with, maybe they are from some other planet or other galaxy. So your ancestors, they are more accessible to you when you are dreaming because you have lost all the attachment to the world.
Why is it that when I sleep looking up, not on the sides, when I sleep looking up, sometimes I go through what they would call
Nahmedi.
Yes, and then I can't even wake up. I feel like I'm just like, what is that?
It's called the sleep paralysis. And then the sleep paralysis happen when someone is about to leap out to this world, to another world. So there's people who are busy working on those places. As I've said, black people are so advanced. They are from the skies. So they work in spaces and time and in between spaces. So the sleep paralysis happen because of that there's a stumbling block. There's energies that are blocking you to access the other realm.
And why does it seem so uncomfortable, as if in most cases, as if like I'm about to die?
It's because you identify much with the body, and then or else the spirit is in charge.
What is deja vu?
Deja vu, it's having, because there's deja vu, they differ. It's when you have a memory of the event because the event, it's imprinted in your psyche. Not that you have experienced it, it's imprinted in your psyche by the spirit. And then there's deja vu, the one we normally famously know. The deja vu, it's because you have came and live here, but you remember everything about your life. And then the deja vu will hit someone who's next to me. If me, I constantly talk about what happened with my life, and I tell you that I was supposed to be here talking the way we are talking, I've been with these guys and I was sitting with you, then there will be someone who has a deja vu in our space, because it shows the relation towards the time, the movement, the variance of the time. That is why I talk about the time machine that Africans used to have. So we are the most advanced people through those sciences that are deprived, like the way you talk about the deja vu. It has even other accesses when we talk about the past lives, where you have lived in your past life and then you remember that you have a lesson to continue. But because no one is there to pamper you, nor to teach you, nor to remind you about the lesson that you need to continue with.
And that's why I would feel like I've experienced this thing before. So it's not my actual physical body, but it's the spirit.
Yes, it's a spirit that is experiencing the same memory, bang, of what has happened. But the body cannot comprehend it. So the body will create a aspect of it. That is why our psychic powers, we cannot comprehend it. We can create aspect of it and say it's clairvoyance, because I could access someone's internal being and live within them.
Why is hair, especially black people's hair, so important? What is the power in the hair?
There's all hairs are important, by the way, because they channel and they connect. But it depends with the satellite. The black people's hair are the advanced and faster satellite and best. So it's because of their experience, their galactical travels. These travels make them to access different energies through their crown chakra.
Connects back to what you were saying earlier.
Yes. The past travel of the sky passing next to the sun, how we inherited the electromagnetic pulse that we have in our skin through the corona, that was a heat wave of the sun. The first wave of the sun heat waves is called coronas. So we did pass through next to those coronas, different of them, from different suns. There's not only one sun.
Somebody was criticizing people who do yoga by using rubber mats and saying they're not connecting with the ground. What is the importance of grounding and nokuhamba ngeenyawo nokuhagana neihlahla? Kusho ukuthini lokho? Or is it being crazy? Am I a lunatic if I do something like that? And how does it benefit any human being?
It benefits you because you get to your sanity. The meantime you connect with nature, that is the meantime you get to peace. And we have a different view into that. I will explain it with the sunset. When everybody views the sunset, some they see a setting of the sun and the end of their period. They need to go back to job, or some frustration of going to sleep because they have nightmares. It differs. But someone else may see the sun as beautiful, that redishness as beauty, and they may admire that. They may see that the waves of the sun as some form of thorns of crowns that are shaped with diamonds, like embroidered with diamonds, I mean to say. So they can see everything there as beautiful. So it means we view nature differently. Then when you kiss trees and hug them, you have already related with them. You have already knew that they are part of life. In one of the sagas, Baba Credo Muta talks about in Zulu Shaman, explaining his initiation. He said his grandfather told him that you need to know how to communicate with nature. And he was so asking that, why you always talk with the tree? Are you praying to the tree? And then his grandfather told him that I'm not praying to the tree. The tree is like me. That's where stupidity starts. You assume I had to pay to the tree, but the tree is like me and you. I will communicate with it. I share every knowledge, everything I know to the tree, because it communicates back with the way it communicates back with me. And then when you are a healer, you need to know how to communicate with trees. You need to know how to understand nature. So grounding yourself into the ground is to calm yourself down. That is why people prostrate themselves into yoga, is to calm yourself down and make energies to float inside your blood neural nervous system so that they can reach to your neurons, your head, your neural process, and create some phenomenons, creativity or sort of anything. Hence why people need to exercise before they become creative. Others indulge into sex.
What are the disadvantages of sleeping or having sex with different people?
I wouldn't say much because I'm not a Catholic. A Catholic maybe can tell you on that because they've preserved themselves and they are celibate. But what I will tell you in Kama Sutra, it has explained that exchanging of energy, it will destroy one. One has to exchange energy with people they've already concentrated themselves with, meaning married, and then they've already agreed, marriage is agreement, and they've already put some concentration of things that they needed to do, either by lobolo or all sort of the judicial system that we have in our traditional aspect. And then they have to, when they've already done that, get close to each other and do what they do. But to go all around to be promiscuous, somehow you may inherit dark forces or dark energies that people harbor.
What is good and what is bad about izolo, igada, insang,
There's nothing
cannabis?
bad, but marijuana can make you passive when you smoke it too much. You can be lazy. You cannot fulfill jobs. You know, it's proscriminate a lot of things, but it works highly for people who have already found the secret that it does proscriminate you. So you need to find its advantage. Because marijuana, it's healthy and healing. It does heal. It's used for healing. Proscrimination is not bad because most people don't understand. Morphine can proscriminate a person's life.
You procrastinate, you postpone.
Yeah, postpone a lot of things. It can make you postpone when you are into morphine. You always consume too much morphine. But same as marijuana, it can make you do that.
Oh, sorry, I
But
was talking about marijuana, sure.
yeah,
Morphine is what they use to you when you're in hospital so you don't have to feel pain.
feel pains, yes. Same as marijuana in the old times. Indians used to use it for aesthetic. Africans use it for aesthetic. Even in Greece, even paralysis. The person who introduced synthesis of medicine in medicinal studies, he used marijuana as the synthesis of aesthetics, meaning to delay pain. He used marijuana. Morphine became a replacement that he used when he never had access of marijuana. But he in his books and the medical coding conduct of his nutritions and natural medicine, he does talk about marijuana as a pain relief, like a delayer of pain.
I listened to Skim GP speaking to Nkululeko and Culture, Nkululeko Nkeu, beautiful episode, where he speaks about how when he was still in prison and it was chaotic, at some point the officials had to find a way to get marijuana into prison, and apparently just allowing them to smoke marijuana calmed down the chaos that was in the prison.
Yes, it calmed down. You know, like you can see it within people who love smoking marijuana. The majority will say the Rastas. You know, when the Rastas smoke marijuana, they have already identified the wrong things. They've already told you what's a target. They've already told you everything, the Rastas. But they wouldn't act onto that. They would rather have quarrels among themselves because they are passive. Rastas are the people who are so intelligent, but they don't have a Rasta school or Rasta institution or Rasta crash. The Muslims have all those things. The Christians have all those things. Rasta is a natural phenomenon, but it doesn't have that. And its assertion is so intelligent that whatever they are telling us, it's so good. So marijuana must be the one of the things that keep them passive. It may be their own social politics and their own internal stuff, but even marijuana does have that kind of delay. Because marijuana works, if you work, we grew up in the hood. If you work hard and you always work, it stimulates that. But it's not going to stimulate something that is passive. It's going to make it more passive. So within the Rastas, they are just passive, meaning pacified people, people of peace, people who talk about love, people who talk. That is why they talk about that. It's because of the nature of what they do. Exactly the way you explain about the prison quarrels and chaos and misbehavior, mannerism that you found there, and that chaotic, psychotic misbehavior that you found there in the prison was sterilized by marijuana. That all people could behave now after consuming marijuana, meaning whatever aggressive nature they had, it was pacified. So marijuana does work that way. It pacifies these aggressive things within us, in our blood, even the behaviors themselves. Yes.
What is hypnosis?
Hypnosis. What do you call it?
Hypnosis, where you
or
find
hypnotism.
somebody gets to be put in a
How
certain state.
in a manner of conventional hypnotism, or in a manner of parallel hypnotism or paraphasial hypnotism, because it differs. There's a lot of way people get hypnotized. You can be hypnotized subliminary by someone saying messages and doing subliminary messages and symbiology in order to communicate with you. So hypnotism, it's in different forms. Like marketing industry, it's a biggest industry in media. The expensive industry is a marketing industry because you need to influence people to buy the item.
Like what I'm doing with this product placement now, you're more fire.
Yes, but advertising is the most expensive one. You need to pay a lot of money. In all the corporation, Coca-Cola, Hennessy, beer, any beer, when they advertise, they make sure they show us a movie, a synopsis of a movie, and it's a budget that is worth a movie that they've wasted there in order to pass a message to us. So hypnotism happens in many ways, in different forms. It can happen in a theater or someone in your territory, and then you admire them and they hypnotize you. You follow whatever they are doing because you are caught up into their behavior and their mannerism and how they contact themselves in life.
And other forms of hypnosis?
There's a lot. I wouldn't go to details, but I've explained the one of the media that is done by marketing industries. We can go to other forms, like a magician can, like people who predict your things in stage actors, where they predict your behavior and tell you that you have passed somewhere, or you think about something, like you think about oranges because you have seen oranges. I know that there's an event where you have identified oranges because it's winter, it's about to approach, it's vernal equinox, it's autumn, it's about to approach winter. So oranges are everywhere. Predominantly, you can find them everywhere. So when I say your mind thought about oranges, already you have a thought of oranges in your mind. So there's a lot of ways where this hypnotism works. And then people will sell you ideas, people will con people with using such hypnotism, and in different forms. And somehow they will control or monitor the whole entire world. It depends who has the power of hypnotism.
Baba Credo Muta, Coco Credo Muta, may his soul rest in peace, speaks about before there was language, there was telepathy. Human beings used to communicate telepathically.
Yeah, same thing of the third eye. When your third eye is open, your chakra within your pineal gland, is when you can access other forms of your communication. These communication animals have them by instinct because they have even lost contact towards their natural instinct. We have lost contact towards our natural instinct. That is why we are far from these forms of instincts. Hence why there's access, techniques, and skills to accumulate such skills. And when we cultivate such skills, or initiation, one will say, when you are initiated to this, you are being helped to cultivate such powers, or what we can call abilities. These abilities are dormant in your mind. You need to just open for them, but they are closed inside internally. So it's the same thing talking about the third chakra or the third eye chakra, saying it's the intelligence chakra, how to open it.
Language.
Yeah, it's just people don't know the language. So Baba Credo Muta was talking about a pre-made species that is animalic as a master. So an initiator will understand that he's talking about the animalic species, a species that hasn't adapted to different forms of unnatural things like that we have already adapted to. We have already put water in a plastic container that is harmfully. So we have adapted to natures that harm us and pollute us, you know. So we have already adapted to natures of watching movie. We are addicted to watching TV, social media, quarreling, commenting, teasing people. So we are not no more closely connected to ourselves. We have a lot of electronics and wires around us that can suppress our energy vibrational frequencies. So we are not connected to our natural instinct. That is why these abilities are not open.
In communicating either with the ones that have passed on or just generically, is it best for Africans to communicate in their vernacular language, or it makes no difference if they communicate in English like we are right now?
You
or
know,
are there benefits of speaking our own vernacular language?
you know, when you want to pass through information, I think you may use a language that is called a Francolinga. Use English. But when you want to talk secretly with your people, use your home language. When you want to talk, communicate with the universe, use your home language. And if you haven't known your home language, you can still use English. But the most language that predominates every language in the whole entire galaxy, the language of the universe, it's symbol, signs, numbers.
Symbols, signs, numbers.
Yes.
Is that the reason why there's symbols everywhere when we watch TV, Hollywood movies? What is this symbolism all about?
It's a language. It's form of communication. That is why even alphabetical system, it's a symbolical system, same as the fiddles in Ethiopia and the hieroglyphics. It's a symbological language. So through symbols, that's how a language was formed. Through a neurolinguistic language, or what we call, say, a language that communicates with your psyche or your mind, your connective process. You can get such language being said in one of the great teachings of the great Toad Emerald, the Tablet of Emerald. He says, he claims that the language that is written in the Emerald, it's written in symbols and signs that transcend or transcend or ascend human understanding. So you can already understand them by just looking at those symbols. You have already grasped the understanding, like you have already comprehend the message. But now with different forms of things, a person have already know the language, they've already made their conscious to understand, not only the spirit. Because when you have already understand, it's only the spirit, but your conscious doesn't have any form of comprehending what is happening. It's just been controlled intuitively by the spirit because it already knows what to do. Which means these symbols are sending commands if someone is sending them to you without knowing.
What is speaking in tongues?
It's a biblical thing. The spirit language of the Africans is not speaking in tongues. It's like speaking a language that can be interpreted and be translated. Same way in the Bible. They say those who spoke in tongues, the disciple of Jesus Christ, when they spoke in tongues, and then people could interpret that this man is speaking my language and I'm from Macedonia, or this man is speaking my language and I'm from Childe, or this man is speaking my language and I'm from Spain. So they could interpret what these disciples are saying when you read perfectly and clearly the gospel of Jesus Christ. But now, most people say speaking in tongues is just speaking gibberish. And then speaking gibberish is not even speaking in tongues. You might be speaking a language you don't know that is controlled by the dark forces out there who want to have access through your body.
Apparently, the English language can also be used to cast spells. How true is that?
Yes, it has already been used to cast spell and hide secrets, not only cast spells, but to hide secrets, to hide a lot of things. That is why in English we can get words like religion. We know religion, it is binding. It is too binding in our mind, It doesn't give you access of freedom. And then religious, it means to bind. So English does hide these words. We use them each and every day, these words, without knowing that we are binding ourselves or putting ourselves in a contract of some sort. And it doesn't matter how you use this language at the end of the day. Or everything is a spell since you are under the matrix of not understanding.
Still speaking about the language, I'm going to go back to what I asked about 5 minutes ago. Is it better for Africans to pray in their vernacular language? Or is it more beneficial, or it doesn't matter when you are speaking to uNkulunkulu wakho noma abaphansi?
It doesn't matter if you know symbology, science, and numbers as the language. You know how Africans, how in your family numbers relate with you and what they mean. Then your ancestors can hear you. But if you're going to speak in English, you need to enforce those energies. They may understand you because they are in the spirit world. It can come with the interpretation. But it may delay because interpretation may come differently. Apparently, you wanted raid, meaning to read things. But they give you a raid, as in the color, because they all have the same sound and vowel of pronunciation. And now you are no more talking with your ancestors. So you need to use what your ancestors know. They created their own language. So they know everything. If it's a slang, they will know you are slanging. If it's you are mixing things, they will know, oh, he's mixing things or she's mixing things. Because they know you. You have already said things according to the way they used to communicate. Unless you know the language of signs and symbols, meaning you have been initiated, then you will have ways of communicating with them through signs and symbols.
In sporting activities like boxing and soccer, they would sometimes say the athletes are not allowed to have sex for a certain period before the game or before the professional bout that they're about to fight. What is the importance of semen retention?
Semen retention stimulates the adrenaline. It's like when you're scared and fighting, it stimulates it. That is why most workers needed to have semen retention, and they need to sustain a lot of, like celibacy, if you want to talk it simple. They needed to be celibate and abstain from sex in order to have the task been done. An aggressive task, though, not a gentle task.
How does it benefit me to be celibate?
It benefits you to be a great fighter, like aggressive person. That is why sithi unenkani in our life.
Oh, but it's why.
So yeah, it benefits you because you'll become forceful and aggressive in everything and dominant until you get that queen who will calm you down and become humble and simple and become a sim, and tolerate everything.
Tell me more.
Yeah, so sex is not like the way they've perceived it. Yes, they will tell you that you need to abstain. We had systems of making people to abstain and have sex according to rules and laws. And that is why Kama Sutra was introduced. Kama Sutra is when a woman goes to virgin texts in the reeds, is to be taught how to have sex with other men. And then the men must be taught how to have sex in the mountain. And they will be taught rituals, rites pertaining sex. And they will be taught benefits that pertaining that. But now, because we were taught, we were indoctrinated by a religious ideology that colonizes us, then we must adapt their system. We have seen them in their system. They don't like too much of sex. It's not an important thing. It's a forbidden thing, even according to biblical sagas.
But why do they bombard us with so much porn, though?
So that your mind, when sex it doesn't have direction, you become promiscuous. So when it have direction, discipline, and principles, it creates a family systems. It creates a system that is respectable. So you get bombarded with too much porn so that you cannot think for yourself and only think through your penis or your vagina. And because the chakras are your brains. And that is why people who have too much sex, they don't think, they just go for it. Because they were thinking through their private parts.
I think you're driving to a certain point. Sorry, I derailed you. I think I disturbed you. When I spoke about porn, there's a point you're driving to.
No, they are deraying our thoughts because you'll think through your private parts. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
You'll use your brains of your private parts, not the brains that you are supposed to use that are controlled by a pineal gland. You'll use these ones, your genitals, and your pineal gland called your phallus. Yeah.
What are the benefits of fasting?
Mm?
Fasting.
The benefits of fasting, they make you connected with the energy around you. Those are the benefits. You can use such an energy for different things.
Tell me more.
You can use such energy to be psychic, powerful. You can use it to heal. You can even destroy people if you want. That is why such disciplines and techniques that are used during fasting are not told to everybody. Yes, sir.
What are human beings really meant to eat? Are
The one-
fruits and vegetables the main things that the human beings are meant to eat?
Yeah, man, you can eat even human beings if you want. But now, no, this it's a human right world where people will tell you about the rights and everything. You wouldn't say eat lanamas. Me, I grew up with such food system. Amasi, ibisi, sorghum porridge. It's in my genes. The people who gave birth to me, they grew up with that. It's in their genes. So I wouldn't tell someone to eat something that is not in their inhabitants. I may tell you that don't eat iron food. And then you are consuming too much iron. Maybe you are consuming too much junk food, as it says. But that junk food keeps you healthy. It keeps you flex. You never get sick. You are always on par. But people who eat these veggies get sick. So I'm deraying you to that. Because if you are going to eat veggies, you are going to get sick like your own people who are sick there. That is why you continue with your junk, because it's good for your immune. So according to the nutritional professors and doctors, they tell you another man's medicine, it's another man's poison. So consume what is healthy for you.
Ngiyabonga mkhulu, thank you for visiting us again. I'm looking forward to attaining more knowledge and structuring more topics and delving more into knowledge. I think for now, let's leave them with this content and let them absorb it, and let's hear what the comments say, and let's take in the feedback, and then let's come back next time and share more knowledge. Ngiyabonga kakhulu mkhulu.
Yes, my Lord. And I'm grateful. I'm just grateful to be around and then to express myself. Though some people, you know what I like. They say, these ideas are so crazy. Is he smoking? Yes, truly I'll answer them this time. I do smoke. And then it stretches my mind. It opens me. Then they need to open their mind. Get a time to just think with your mother mind, as Baba Credo Mutwa say. Use your mother mind, that mind that is beyond logical and 1, 2, 3 understanding.
as I wrap it up, how do you handle criticism?
By observing it and then get frustrated where you are alone internally within you. No one will never get frustrated being criticized. But at the end of the day, it's a chance to ascend, meaning a challenge gives you a chance to know who you are and triumph and found other abilities that you have within. So I handle it as a technique or some form of a new challenge that the universe has given me.
Thokoza mkhulu, I'll see you soon.
Yes, man.
The name is Zamalek Giza. Social media?
Yes, I've told you, people can only get me on TikTok.
Oh, you're on TikTok now?
Yes.
Nice. Mkhulu has eventually joined social media on TikTok now.
Yes, I'm on TikTok.
What's the handle?
It's Zamalek Giza. I do only host lives. That's the thing I do. But the rest of other things, I cannot do it because of the phone issues. I got a new phone recently. There's people who love me. They bought a phone for me. So it was delivered day before yesterday. So I'm going to use that phone to to have a lot of videos where I break down a lot of things for other people because they've asked me a lot of questions. So they are overwhelming.
Thokoza.
Yes, sir.
See you guys on the next episode.